Greetings, everyone. I'm Stephen Gibson. I'm an in-house architect with the Penn Group, a real estate and renewable energy developer based on the Schuylkill River in Bala-Cynwyd. Looking upstream along the Schuylkill River, on the right is Philadelphia, the wooded valley of the Wissahickon Creek above, and above that, the neighborhoods of Roxborough and Manayunk. On the left is the eastern edge of the main line, Bala-Cynwyd and Lower Merion Township. The sites in yellow at center, owned by the Penn Group, are connected by the recently renovated Pencoed Bridge, and their history tells a narrative spanning centuries about connections to the river's edge. Further upstream, one can see into the Schuylkill's past, the wooded Eden of the Lenni Lenape, who settled along the river banks and lived many generations integrated into the landscape and the water cycle of the river. Abundant game, fresh water, fertile fields, and predictable seasons were enhanced by access to the river for trade. This map of the 1800 reveals the busy work of the colonists asserting ownership, dividing up the land into parcels, connected by a network of paths and roads, bridges and ferries. Our office sits on Writers Ferry Road. The Writers family owned several parcels of farmland on the hill of Roxborough, bisected by the Ridge Avenue today. During the 1800s, New World governments surveyed and assessed the morphology of the regional landscape here in the service of prospecting for fresh water for a large and growing urban center, Philadelphia. In the yellow on the left, the 1,800 square mile watershed of the Schuylkill River Valley is shown. In the 1850s, Algernon and Percival Roberts founded the Pencoed Iron Works on a stretch of riverfront land bounded at the rear by Reading Railroad and bisected by Ferry Road, as shown on this early tax map. Also shown is a garden and a string of row houses extending up the hill and leveraging new technologies of the Industrial Revolution. Pencoed developed their own catalog of engineered rolled steel shapes and profiles, and in the 1876, the Centennial Exposition was their first major commission, just downriver from the Pencoed site. Vast halls welcomed more than 10 million visitors from around the world to marvel at a variety of hopeful technologies. As demand increased and technological innovation developed, production facilities were replaced and reconfigured. Near Image Center, you can see a building with a pretty cupola. That is a new office for the ironworks. Noisy, I'm sure, because it was situated over giant pumps to bring water in from the river. This was an era of great feats of engineering and infrastructure. Pencoed was known for its specialty in bridge design and construction, shipping tons of steel all over the world, delivered as engineered kits of parts for projects many miles away. Among them, Broad Street Station was constructed as a vault over top of existing smaller train sheds in the years when City Hall was being finished. By the turn of the century, as many as 1,500 people worked at Pencoed, and steel production took place on both sides of the river, linked by the privately built Pencoed Bridge. In the image at the top right, you can see the bridge as well as the office building and many warehouses and smokestacks beyond. The headquarters of Pencoed Ironworks is a beautiful example of 19th century architecture, likely the work of Frank Furness's office. Mothballed by the previous owner after being slathered in stucco and then burned in a fire, it was saved from demolition by the Penn Group, who purchased 10 acres of the ironworks in the year 2000. It was beautifully restored, and it is where I work every day. Today, it sits adjacent to a giant warehouse clad in beautifully rusted corrugated steel. The vast space is divided into 3 gantry crane bays, each 300 feet long. Inspired by the scale of these awesome spaces and their ability to define a space on an urban scale, we chose to integrate one of the bays into the redevelopment as a site as an outdoor room. In these views, you can see, looking from the Manayunk side of the river, the warehouse shape with its skin peeled off, it becomes a motor court and a pedestrian square facing the river. This more polished version of the view, the existing steel truss gateways will be preserved to frame the river trail along the river, and the trail on our site is being designed as a series of arrival and resting places to enjoy the context of the amazing steel. We really want this place to become a destination for both city and suburban folk alike, connected by the bridge. Immediately after opening, a steady and growing stream of commuters and trail users have been crossing the bridge. As with fire, the human reaction to being next to the river has a meaning, a visceral calming effect, perhaps harkening back to our primitive roots. Away from the sound of the highway, we hope to restore the trail edge as an ecologically vital riverbank, supporting the river's return to health. The most active of places we will create by the river has been imagined as an urban square Pencoid Square, a pedestrian destination under a steel canopy, framed by the formal facade of the Pencoid headquarters and a new glass box cafe and the entrance to a hotel. As we have learned more about the potential of the site and the existing infrastructure, we have expanded our view of the trail, hoping to intentionally set up a ribbon of destinations. The building in this view is perhaps the oldest on the site, a pump house which drew water for the factory use. We see it as a potential restaurant and perhaps a tap room below. This view, looking downstream, the city beyond, shows the many layers of this site. The cemetery on the right in the wooded hill, our site in the middle, the river, and on the left is a Manioc movie theater site which the Penn Group purchased this past year. We see our site as a nexus between many different trails coming together. This connect the set circuit diagram shows our easy connections to Forbidden Drive, up and down the river with Kelly Drive, as well as the Kinward Heritage Trail. We really see it as important to create destinations on both sides of the river, to bring people from the city to the river and to the suburbs beyond, and vice versa. Having all these trail connections will be a wonderful benefit. Many thanks. I just wanted to thank some of the consultants we've had along the way who've really helped to inspire us on this project. Land Collective, Site Engineering Concepts, as well as the Lighting Practice and Kosher Moose Architects. Thank you very much.